Hey, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hanging On to Hope podcast.
I'm Brenda J.
And I'm Karen Wonder.
And we are
hangingontohope.org. This podcast is intended as educational and is not psychological or medical advice. Always consult a professional when needed, and we disclaim any liability in connection with the instruction, information, or advice given.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hanging On to Hope podcast. This is Brenda J. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Karen W.
It's actually Karen B now.
So I brought Karen B to the show, but it's Karen W still. So today, she has an announcement, and it's been a big secret, but maybe some people know. I don't know. But it's been a long 4-year journey. It's been 4 years since 2021 that the podcast came out. A healing journey for both of us.
Yes.
You can listen to our episodes 1 and 2 where I was extremely broken, and I'm still broken, but I was extremely broken. And she just becomes vulnerable to our audience on her episode. And she's just come such a long way since then.
Gosh, I was a nervous wreck on that episode because I was so worried about saying anything that was going to, offend someone or, I wanted to be so careful about what I said.
And I was more amazed at mine because my brain didn't even work at all. And I still somehow did a podcast and that one wasn't even edited. I'm like, wow, I really did pretty good on that considering where I was at. So, so she has a really big announcement and we've just come such a long way. And go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, so we haven't even recorded a podcast in a while, so it felt even good coming over here. So, so I got married on May 3rd of this year. And and it's just, it really is amazing. And it was a long time coming because I don't know how long in between that. I think I was 7-8 years. I mean, I'm not good at keeping track of numbers very well, but I think I was divorced for 7, 8, 9 years, somewhere around that time frame. And I was really starting to feel like it's just not going to happen, and that's one of the reasons why I got a job back with the airline. I'm like, I'm just going to travel because I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm just really thankful for this season. Not that everything's perfect in my life, but it's just one of those things that I'm a hopeless romantic. I remember as a kid loving Cinderella, and I just love romance. And, so to have that now in my life, it was unexpected in a lot of ways, but I'm just very grateful for this season.
And she says in several podcasts we did that she's a hopeless romantic. She was always saying that. And I remember the dating one that we did with Michelle Donnelly.
Yeah.
Dating after abuse. And I remember her saying, I'm a hopeless romantic.
Yeah, I am. I've always just loved romantic movies. And I love romance. I've always wanted to have that. The kind of relationship that I have now, I've always wanted it.
And so did it kind of come true for you?
It did.
It did.
It did.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we're going to get into the details of this. What we did is we created some questions for her to choose from. And really the goal of this podcast is people that have been following us from the beginning, if you haven't listened from the beginning, or at least the first 2 episodes, to give people hope to see that after you've come through trauma and abuse that
you can heal. You can heal. I mean, it is a healing journey. Like I said, I never feel like, I'm healed. It's an ongoing journey, but I definitely feel like there's layers of healing, and I feel like I've developed enough layers of healing that I can actually not sabotage a relationship and enjoy.
You can heal enough to be in a healthy, godly, good relationship with a man, and there are still men out there like that.
Yeah.
But the healing, you have to heal.
Yeah.
Because I find myself, and since the 4 years since my first podcast, I've been deceived and manipulated, and because I wasn't healed, did not notice what a healthy person was yet. Like I was still manipulated, but just because someone would say they were a Christian, I thought they were automatically a good person.
Yeah.
But yet I was spiritually abused. So for me, I am learning too. But so that healing journey you go through takes time, and she got there and found a healthy.
Yeah. And I do think that was a huge part of enjoying what I have now, is I do feel like, because I was constantly, and right even the year or two before I met Hasso, who's my husband now. I did a course on healing childhood trauma. And then after that, it was dealing with other things. But it was like right after that I felt like God really spoke to me, and I felt very surrendered about things, because even I feel like before in my life, if there was ever a healthy relationship, I would sabotage it. I would find some way to like mess it up. And so to even be in that relationship and to not have done that, I just know that had to have been a healing process. I had to be in a place where I could heal. And I do think that's really important, is to take the time to heal, however long that takes. But pursuing healing, I think, was definitely a huge part of it. And I'm thankful for that God was faithful to bring healing.
So what's your first choice for the first question we'd like to
number
ask
2.
you? All right. So the first question that Karen chose is, for those listening who may still be in a toxic or painful relationship, what would you say to your past self who might have doubted that safe, loving people exist?
Well, now that I've read it, I have to think about this. What would you say to your past self who might have doubted? Okay, it's harder than I thought it was going to be. I don't know. It sounds cheesy, but I guess I would say believe that there are good people in the world, because I think when you've been hurt so many times, you start really, wow, there's just no one out there that's good.
Yeah. Would
be one thing. But then also, I do think it's really important to have a healthy, just have some kind of emotional healthiness, to be, aware of your emotions.
Yeah.
And then, to me, it was huge. My walk with God was huge of just being able to hear from him, because that was part of what's kept my faith going, is that God validated me early on, in my marriage.
Yeah. And
so that's just something to me that I have to hear from God. I have to know that he's nudging me and that he's speaking to me and that I can trust him. And I think that was a huge part of it too. So I guess I would say all 3 of those things, of just trusting that there are good people, there are good men in the world, and that God is good. And that if you have a desire, that God wants to give us the desires of our heart, and being able to trust in that. And I know I've said it over and over on past podcasts too, but I used to remind God all the time about hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. And I'd always be like, okay, God, remember that verse that says that? Because I did feel like my hope was deferred, because I wanted that so bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this an idol, God, or what? And so I even got to the point where I was like, if this is, I'll travel. Okay, I don't need to be in a relationship. I can be content with just God. And I feel like I did come to this place of surrender in a way before it happened, where I was like content with like, I can still be happy,
right.
And not be in a relationship, because we went to Europe and we had a great time in Europe, and it was so fun to travel internationally and see, and there's so many things you can see in the world. So just having that hope that God was doing that.
Yeah. And I do think it's important to get to that place.
Yeah.
I think you almost have to get to that place. Otherwise it's maybe going to end up being codependent relationship or not healthy.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself now that, my husband is not God.
Right.
He doesn't know all my inner secrets, and he doesn't know what the right words to say at all times. I mean, he's not perfect. I love him, and he's wonderful, and he's amazing, but I still need God. And it was even a rough lesson for me of like, because I kind of neglected it. We got so busy with everything. I had to move, moving into his house, and which is now our house, and then planning the wedding and the honeymoon and everything. So I kind of did neglect God for a while there. And it was a good reminder of like, God still has to be number one.
Yeah.
In my life.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You're not perfect. You're going to get on each other's nerves.
Well, I think
I
think that was a phenomenal answer. Okay, so the next question that Karen chose is, what did healing look like for you in the early days after coming out of a painful or abusive relationship?
I feel like I'm on a game show. She chose answer question 3. So, yeah, in the early days, I mean, right away, before I was even divorced, I went through Mending the Soul. And I know I've talked about that before on the podcast too, but I think going through that was really helpful, because I was so stunned by like, how did this happen? Like, how did I attract this? And how did I end up in a relationship that feels so unhealthy? And so I think Mending the Soul to me, and going in it, being in a safe group with, ours was a very small group, and then you have facilitators, and then I love the Mending the Soul material.
Yeah.
So that was so helpful. And you have to write your testimony. I think before you even do the group, you have to write your story. And so just taking time to think through things. It really helped me connect the dots and understand why I made the choices I made. Because I was so just baffled, like, I don't understand, God, and why did you allow this? And I had so many questions, and I think it really helped me to get right into mending the soul. And as soon as I went through the whole group, I immediately signed up to be a facilitator to go through the training, even though I only facilitated one group after that where I met you.
Yeah.
I still would like to get involved in that because I think it's such a great program and it helped me so much that I talked about that too, that I saw her as a counselor before. So I just think really highly of both of them, Steve and Celesta Tracy, and their materials.
Well, that's why we do what we do now, because we want to provide all the healing tools that are out there in case everybody has a, different way of healing. Yeah. And there's different ways you can heal through different things. I mean, I did a lot. I went through other groups too, but I like to always we always have things to work on. So to me, it's always an ongoing thing of what can I work on now? What are you showing me now, God, that I need to work on? Yeah, because I think on our website now we have just all the groups, like even Pastor Dr. Sang-Hoon Yu has materials and has a little church service. And
I know, I keep wanting to go to that.
Yeah, and then they've got Call to Peace Ministries. They've got the stuff online. There's so much stuff available now.
Yeah, there is.
To help you heal.
Yeah, there's a variety of things.
Yeah, we've got more podcasts coming up, hopefully in the future, with even more tools and more books and more healing material. Yeah. So
that's what I like about doing what we do is it's endless. You're never going to run out of material to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Good people out there.
Was there a moment you realized you had grown or healed more than you thought? What was that moment like? I asked her that without asking her.
Sprung that on me.
I picked that one.
What was a moment when you realized you'd healed more than you thought? I mean, I don't know. I went on a yoga retreat. I mean, I think I had met him maybe then because I met him at an adult singles group. And when I went to the yoga retreat, I didn't really go with any expectations. I was kind of being adventurous because I didn't go up knowing anyone really there. And it was just a great time because we're out in nature. It was up north and it was beautiful and it was cooler. Then we got to do all this and it was Christian yoga group. And so all the women were Christian. And it ended up being that a lot of the women there had been in not really healthy relationships and ended up talking about the podcast. And it just ended up being a time of real reflection. And one of the activities they did on Saturday was you to write a letter to yourself or I think I wrote a letter to you and then I wrote a letter to myself. And in that letter, I was still struggling with wanting a relationship. And I was just kind of like encouraging and I was going to bring the card to read it and I forgot. But basically I was telling myself, Karen, hang in there, like God sees the desires of your heart and all you need is a mustard seed size faith is what I was telling myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember what else I wrote now, but I wrote that card to myself. And then the next day was the last day of our retreat. And we did worship before we left. And we did like this little yoga routine. And the gal that led that group she brought up that mustard seed size faith, which I was like, wow, I just, I feel like that was a moment that God spoke to me about. And so she gave us all little mustard seeds. Mm-hmm. And, they're so tiny, and so I still have it. I still have that card and I have the mustard seed. I clipped it to the card because it was just this visual reminder of like, God, I think sometimes we don't think that God wants to give us the desires of our hearts. I think we start doubting that, especially if you've not had a great relationship. So I don't know. I think that was a big moment for me. That felt like a surrender because I feel like I was really trying to surrender things to God too because I was at that point where I wanted whatever He had for me. Yeah. So yeah, that to me was a moment where I guess that answered the question.
Well, maybe the question needed to be the reverse. Like, so where was there a moment in the relationship or the marriage that you realized you still needed to heal? How about that? She's not saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's still going to be trauma. Like even though you were working on yourself, you're not perfect, you're still going to have maybe trauma responses. Yeah. And so I had a situation where I had a trauma response and I didn't really realize it was. I just was really confused at like, why am I feeling this way? And I reacted a certain way and I pulled away because I was hurt. I don't know if I want to go into all the specifics of it, but I was feeling really hurt. And so I pulled away from my husband a little bit because I was in that self-protective mode. I was assuming his thoughts. Well, which was totally not true.
Right.
And I told a friend, I was texting a friend the next day and she goes, that's totally a trauma response. And I was like, you're right, it is, but at the time I didn't really think about it. And we both were in this state of confusion because he was like, why are you saying this? Why are you acting this way? And it was that reminder of like, no, it's ongoing and we have to communicate and I have to be aware of those little triggers or trauma responses that come up that I don't expect. They come out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, my first reaction was, you're married, you live in the same house. Why would you have thoughts like that? That's when you know it's from the devil.
Yeah.
Like you're married now. You're good.
Yeah. And it's an insecurity. I mean, we all still maybe struggle with insecurities of like, well, it's not, maybe I'm too much of maybe he's tired of me now.
after 40.
And that was like 2 months in, but he was like, yeah, I'm getting tired of you now. 2 months. I need a break from you.
Yeah, all that stuff's going to come up, but we just have to trust the Lord.
Yeah.
And press into him. Like the more that I realized, the more I got hurt, I just had to press into God. You know? It's hard.
It's hard, but then I feel like he always meets you there.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we both have the same faith. So we can go to each other and we can pray together through things and really talk things through. And that's a huge part of it too.
Definitely. Well, we talked about this in some podcasts, like how do you learn to trust again? And in a lot of our podcasts, we say, don't watch what they say, but it's by what they do. Watch their actions.
Yeah.
Whether someone is trustworthy or not. And so how did you learn to trust again? What were some of the small signs that help rebuild your trust in people and yourself?
I mean, for me, I'm a big journaler. I know I've talked about that. I journal a lot. And so that helps me. Writing through things is a big part of it. And I think I see a lot of growth when I look at old journal entries, or I guess that's one way I can see some growth or understand what's going on. But yeah.
How did you learn to trust him?
Oh, when I think with him, like I think I fell in love. We just talked about this the other day because I think I fell in love with him. We weren't even officially dating. We called it friendshipping at first, where we were going out for coffee and doing things. We hadn't kissed or anything yet. We were just talking, and he had invited me to go to Pine Top, which is up north. It's like 4-hour drive. This was pretty early on, and I think going up there, and of course we had great conversation going up there, but we went up there because he has like a gal that's kind of like his mom. It's not his biological mom, but she's like a mom type figure in his life. And I think seeing him with her and seeing how caring he was to her, I just was like, wow, I was like melting.
That's a great example.
Yeah, it really was. I fell in love with him there. We had a great conversation on the way back too. And because we talked a little bit about, he said he would never pressure me. Right before I walked in the door, we kind of had this conversation. We hugged. We didn't kiss yet, but we hugged. And he told me he would never pressure me. And I just was like, I felt like I'm in love with this man. Like he's not going to pressure me. And it's like, and just seeing how kind he was to this gal up there. And that was a great way to see like this guy had a genuine caring heart. And
then would he always follow through on his actions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they do watch that closely, right?
Yes.
We try to teach that on this podcast.
Yeah, he did. He would do what he said he was going to do. I saw how he treated other people. When you go to a restaurant, how does he treat a waitress that's rude or whatever? It's just seeing all those things and seeing that this guy's got a good heart.
Yeah.
What surprised you about being in a kind, respectful relationship? I would say one thing that comes to mind just reading that question. It feels so wonderful to be accepted for who I am.
Yeah.
Because now I'm at this stage, I'm almost 60. I'm at this stage where, menopause brain, menopause body, and, struggling with, and just, it's humbling as you get older and, your skin changes and just all that. And it's hard enough just in your own mind to not be negative with your thoughts and,
Yeah.
And so to have someone that will tell me I'm beautiful when he sees me in the morning without any makeup, and
I can't even imagine.
I know it really is amazing to think, and even when I do things wrong, he loves me for who I am. He tells me I'm sexy and he tells me that I'm beautiful when I don't feel it all the time. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel more sexy and beautiful because, I really feel like I know what he's saying is genuine.
Yeah.
He's not just saying it, it's a thing that he's feeling from the heart. So that's been a beautiful thing to experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And like when I listen to love songs now, I was telling him like, I totally get love songs now. Like you listen to them, like it's just this wonderful, it's a wonderful feeling because I never really had it to that extent before.
So this isn't on our list of questions, but what was the biggest way you were able to tell that he was not abusive? Was there any certain things that you just could tell for our listeners to help, help them know what the difference was? Is there a difference?
I mean, I think so, because I know there was a time when we were still dating when I got triggered by something he did. And it was just like he was kind of angry or mad at me about something, and he wasn't looking at me right away, like looking me in the eyes. Mm-hmm. And it really triggered me big time. And I won't get into all the details of that. It wasn't, a big deal in the end, but it took me a while because I think when you're triggered, a lot of times you don't know, you're just, for me, I get confused. Like, why am I feeling so strong? I feel like I'm overreacting, but I know I even talked to you about it the next day because I was like, am I overreacting?
Yeah.
Because my feelings felt so strong. And then you helped me see like, it was a trigger. And so I talked to him about it that next day, and seeing his reaction, he wasn't defensive. He didn't like, well, I just did that because, he was immediately like, thank you for telling me that.
Right.
And then he was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And so, wow.
That's good.
Yeah. That was beautiful. And that's something that really hasn't come up again because I think he understands that that's a trigger for me.
And it's like at the beginning, you said he's not God and he's not a mind reader.
Right.
So he doesn't know that bothered you
until
you told him.
Right. And we're all, we all do things that can irritate somebody else. I mean, none of us are perfect. So So the fact that he was able to receive it and not be defensive and even thanked me for telling him that, that to me was a big point.
And like, did he care? Like when you would talk, he would care about what you were saying.
Yeah.
Like I noticed, like I've had people in my life that I'll talk and somehow they're flipping it around and changing it, like deflecting away from themselves and somehow pinning something back on me. And I'd be sitting there like, how did this turn into this? I didn't even say anything about this.
Yeah. It's all turned around.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think abusers do a lot.
Yeah. Our communication's been very open. And I think part of that too is when you're older too, you just don't want to play any games.
Yeah.
It's like, just be real. Early on, we were very open and honest about things. But yeah, I think I think that's what they say a lot in all the podcasts we've done is abusers don't want to ever admit they're wrong, So to see someone like being able to humble themselves, that's all we all need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I need to be able to do that myself, when there's something like, oh, I didn't realize I did that.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking a lot now. So how did it work? I guess this would be the last question before we wrap up. Like how important and how can you explain to our listeners the faith and spiritual beliefs? How did that play a part in finding this marriage and this partner? Mm-hmm. And how's that working? How important is it to be equally yoked? And I guess the question is, how is this working better? Because I don't know if it's your age or your relationship with God, like what's the difference?
Well, I mean, I remember us going to talk to at one point when I don't remember exactly what the struggle we were having was, but I went and talked to my pastor and his wife about some of my, I don't know if you really want to call it a doubts, but one of the things they told me is to, you need to know that did God bring you two together? Is God in this? Is God have Hasso for you? And he thinks that you're from God. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I fasted for a couple of days and really thought about that. And I really do believe that, just the way it all came about, us meeting even, because I'd been going to this singles group, I don't know, I think a couple of months. And I just had always kind of gone and sat at a different table each time. And this time that I met him, I'd seen him and thought he was cute, but I never really talked to him. And this time that I met him, a friend of mine got there before me, which usually didn't happen. And then she saved me a seat. And so when I walked up, he was sitting at the table. And then we just started talking. So just the way it came about though, with meeting him, and I really felt like I kind of had a crush on him right away because like my first impression of him was he was funny, he was smiling and laughing a lot, and he seemed very real. I felt an authenticity because in the singles group, it's like a Bible study. So a lot of times I go through questions and, everyone answers, and some people would give like these Christianese answers,
Yeah.
And I felt like he was not like that. He was really authentic and didn't try to sound super spiritual. It was just real. And that was, to me, that was just a guy. I feel like God did a lot of things to show us early on that, because I think he felt the same way, that no, this is a God thing. I just told him that today when we were talking. I said, this came about from God. I don't feel like it could have come about any other way.
And so your first relationship didn't start out that way.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that, because I thought I did. I thought it did at the time, but I also, because we're just like you were saying, he's a Christian. I'm a Christian. I felt like I knew enough about him that he knows. I don't know. I just feel like I was so young, and I think it's hard to have maturity.
That's what happened to me too.
Yeah.
And these guys are domineering. Like my ex is super domineering, and they use that spirituality as like a manipulation almost.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say my ex was domineering, but I felt like, now it is more important. It doesn't impress me if someone comes up and quotes a whole chapter of the Bible or whatever. It's like, not that it's bad. I believe in memorizing scripture, but it doesn't impress me, and it doesn't really say anything about where they stand,
because you have
in
to,
character.
Yeah, you have to act out.
Yeah, it has to be more than head knowledge.
The ways of Jesus, right?
Yeah, it has to be in your heart, and it has to be something.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to go by, it's not just the law in the Bible. It's like this. You have to see the spirit behind the law.
Yes.
So there's a big difference.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, because I think it's having wisdom and discernment and asking God for that, even if you're younger.
Yeah.
And you're not married yet, or you've been through abuse. And that's helped me a lot, because there's a lot of deceit in these end days. And there's a lot of people that say they're a Christian, or they say they're this and that, but just watch their actions and their spirit and the love, and are the fruits of the Spirit. Like it says in the Bible, test the spirits.
Yeah. And another thing
spirit.
I would say too, is we went to a premarital classes. It was like 6 weeks or something like that. And I loved one thing that the couple said at the class, and this was towards the end of the classes, but they said, if you're seeing red flags, and I wish they had said that. Maybe they did, when we went through premarital counseling too, but I don't know if it was that many classes. But they said, if you're seeing red flags now, stop. Like, you don't have to keep going, because most people that are going to premarital classes probably are engaged, probably have a date set. We didn't actually have a date set, I don't think, then. But I just thought because there was a lot of younger people in this class, and I just thought that was a great thing to say, because I don't know if that entered my mind, because you think, okay, I got the date set, we're engaged, I got the ring, there's no turning back now.
Right.
But there is. If you're seeing red flags, stop.
Right.
Pray. Ask for more signs. Ask for wisdom. Seek wise counsel.
There's no reason to rush.
No. And if you're, seeing, I think these might be red flags, well, talk to somebody about it. I just was listening to somebody that I follow on Instagram the other day, and she was talking about the guy she married. He would spit on her and spit on her feet and spit on her. And she was like, is that okay? And the lady's like, no, that's not okay. Don't marry this man.
My ex spit in my face.
Really?
Wow. When we were
wow.
Well, we weren't even engaged yet when we first met.
Yeah. And so you probably didn't think to maybe question it, or.
Oh, no, I did.
You questioned it.
I knew it was horrible. And
well, the red flag was there, but who knows? When you're young, it's easy to, that's why I think it was good that they said that. Yeah.
I was in a very vulnerable time in my life, and he took advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what abusive people were like, because nobody in my family is abusive in the least little bit. I didn't even know what abuse was. So that's sad. But this is not about me. This is about Karen's wedding. This is about Karen being married to a great Christian man. And they love each other. And
it's beautiful, and it's a wonderful thing. And I want to offer people hope, because I know what it feels like to feel like, it's not going to happen, or I'm always encouraging you that, it can happen, because I didn't think it would ever happen to me. And I'm just very thankful. And Hasso and I both want to offer hope to people, because we both know what it feels like to be lonely and to wonder if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah. So what is your message to anyone listening who's wondering, will I ever feel safe or loved again?
I would say yes. Taking it to God and surrendering it to God, God will lead the way. God showed me the way, I feel like, in my journey. And so just trust that God is good. And if God has given you the desire for that, then yes, absolutely yes.
And it's also okay. I remember listening to a video once where he talks about just making yourself be the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And be in the Word of God and do the things of the kingdom and become the best version of you while you're waiting.
Right.
And that's the stage and the place I'm in. And I've never felt more loved by God in my life. So I'm in a wonderful place, even though my things in my life are hard and there's still suffering and struggle in lots of different areas that I won't get into. I still have that peace because I have God.
Yeah.
And I'm growing and I'm becoming better and I'm trying to make myself better. And that's instead of sitting around and not, making those changes in yourself first and trying to heal. When you get triggered, how do I heal from that? How?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. So,
well, I 100% agree. I think that you can't go wrong by just pursuing your own healing, because whether you get a relationship or you don't, that's just going to be for your betterment, Yeah.
And I'm so content in being with Jesus that I'm okay. Yeah. I can honestly say I'm very, very, very happy not being in a relationship. And I think that's a great place to be.
Yeah. I remember people my sister used to always tell me, oh, it's going to happen when you're least suspecting it or something. Yeah. But I think there's the truth to that of just when you are content. I do think I got to that point too, where I was surrendered.
Yes.
I can't remember the missionary. There was a missionary book I read to the boys a long time ago, and she never married. And it was such a sad story to me because she wanted to be married, but she never was. She's something that she really, really wanted, and it never happened to her. And that was just a sadness that she had. And I was like, wow, I don't want that. But if that's what you have for me, she was what she did was amazing. But yeah, for me, it's just something I wanted, and I'm just very thankful. I don't know how long it's going to last. Not as far as I know the love is going to last. Let me rephrase that. Our health, what I meant to say.
That's going to be a blooper at the end.
You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to say that. I'm saying you never know if you can get hit by a bus the next day. One of us could, die. That's what I meant. You have to just live in the moment.
Yes.
Because you don't know how much time. His wife passed away and it was very unexpected. Yeah. They didn't expect it to happen. So you have to just enjoy the moment and enjoy the time you're in and just treasure every moment.
I think we forget to do that.
We do. It's so easy.
In the moment, live in the moment.
I know. I'm trying. That's my thing. I try to do so much is, yoga. When I get away from yoga, that's what slips is I'm not as mindful. That's what I like about yoga is it makes you be aware of, am I clenching my jaw? Oh, I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
If I don't do yoga, I get away from all that and I don't even realize I'm doing it.
And my daughter is, come back to, she loves Jesus. And she said, do you think that it makes Jesus upset that how much people are on their cell phones? And I said, I do believe it does.
Yeah. Well, he says he's a jealous God.
Yeah, I can't.
He wants our attention.
And I think if we think about how Jesus, really does care and
I think it makes them sad because we don't really get that. We're not going to get the fulfillment from our phones that we get from God.
Right.
And he sees that.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just wrap this up. Did you have anything else you wanted to add or any other questions or?
I don't think so. I just want to encourage people, whether you want to stay single and don't want to pursue a relationship and just work on either way, just working on your own growth, you can't go wrong. But also just if you have a desire of your heart, just trust that God is good. And, I got impatient, and I look back, I wish I would have, that's a question I would tell my old self. But that was one of the questions is just be patient.
Yeah.
But it's hard because you think, I'm getting up there or whatever. But I'm just so thankful. And I remember being encouraged by Olivia Newton-John. She got married. She found her really great love. I think she was in her 50s or 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's really encouraging to hear, just because you maybe never had it doesn't mean you're not ever going to have it,
Yeah. And I found the greatest love of all in Jesus. So,
well, there you go.
I am. It's very, very satisfying.
Yes.
Just the fullness of his glory and the weight of his glory and just feeling, I don't know, just being in a place where I can count on him and he's not going to ever let me down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always there for us. He's always there to validate us and point us to truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on to the podcast, Ms. Karen B. Where can people find you on social media? And have you done your yoga video yet?
I know. I really want to do my yoga video.
And you haven't written a blog in 3 years.
I thought about that the
I was
other
looking
day.
at their website. I'm like,
Do people even read blogs anymore? I don't know.
I
We're
don't
so, yeah, I feel like we have such short attention spans
that's
anymore.
why doing the reels now, people like them.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's hard for me to read a book anymore. I don't know if that's because of that, but I think our attention spans are so much shorter these days.
Yeah.
But I do like writing, and maybe I'll.
Yeah. And if there's anything that we didn't add or you want to know, or because, when you start doing a podcast, you blank sometimes. We'll be sitting here talking, and all this great stuff will come out and we're not taping yet.
Right.
And then
why didn't we tape
we
that?
turn it on and we're like,
your mind just goes blank.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It always seems like God blesses it and it comes out good, but
yeah. It's been a great journey though with the podcast. We just prayed before we started this, and we're both thankful for our friendship, and we're thankful for just so much that we've learned through these podcasts, the guests, and you've edited these podcasts and had to listen to my bloopers over and over and just make you laugh every once in a while. And, just hearing the wisdom from so many great people.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
Thanks for tuning in to Hanging On to Hope. Check out our website, hangingontohope.org. There are resources on there, and if you would like to donate or volunteer, you can do that through our website. We are a brand new nonprofit, so we appreciate any and all support. And we thank you for listening. And until next time, keep hanging on to hope. We are evidence that there is hope and healing for you, and our passion is to help you find it too. So thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening, everyone.